From CBS 4 News, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede, and we begin today's show with Congressman Ted Deutch, who announced this week he was not running for re-election. Deutch has been in Congress since 2010, representing parts of Broward and Palm Beach counties. His decision was a surprise to many, but he's leaving Congress to become the CEO of the American Jewish Committee, a worldwide advocacy group that fights anti-Semitism. Here is our conversation. So let's start with the obvious. Why the decision to leave Congress?
Well, this is not something that I had planned. I was approached by AJC, which is a global Jewish advocacy organization that fights anti-Semitism and defends Israel's rightful place in the world. And in conversations with them, I realized that with the global platform that they have with offices all around the world, that I'd be able to work full-time on issues that I'm really passionate about. And I think may be able in some ways to have even greater impact on these issues than I do and that I've had as a member of Congress. So it was a really hard decision because I'm so proud to represent the people of South Florida, and it's an incredible, incredible honor. But this seemed like a unique opportunity, and that's what's leading to this transition.
What does that say that you think you might be more effective, have more influence outside of Congress than as a member of Congress?
Well, I'm not talking about influencing Congress. I mean, I feel really I'm proud of what I've done on these issues and so many others. As a member of Congress, I've worked really hard to try to bring people together and be effective in representing my constituents. It's really just the opportunity to do this full time on some very specific issues at a time when the challenges to the Jewish community here and around the world are growing, when there is rising anti-Semitism, when the hostage situation in Texas just recently is the one that comes to mind. But there's been violence against the American Jewish community. We've seen threats around the world. Israel's always under attack, both physically and by those who wish to delegitimize it. So this is a chance to really work here and in countries around the world to address these critically important issues.
There are some who would think that your decision is based in part because the Democrats are likely to lose the House, and so you'll end up being in the minority. Any truth to that?
No, it's politics. I've served in the majority now. I'm the chairman of the Ethics Committee. I chair the Middle East Subcommittee. I've served in the minority before as the ranking member of the Middle East Subcommittee and the Ethics Committee. That's just what happens in Congress. And I'm proud of what I've been able to do both in the majority and the minority. This isn't about fleeing Congress, running away from Congress. This is really an opportunity to run to something that's unique, and that's why I've decided to do that.
Well, let me ask you this: has there been some disillusionment, though, with the way you view Congress, the way you view the way Congress behaves? I mean, clearly there's a big difference between the Congress you entered in 2010 and the Congress that you'll leave later this year.
I'm not disillusioned. Look, there have been changes. I don't think we can kid ourselves about that. It is the level of partisanship, the attacks ultimately on our democracy, which we saw on January 6th. These are real challenges, and it's been tough, but I think we've risen to the challenge. We need to continue to look for ways to come together and marginalize those extreme voices that are trying to prevent Congress from working. So it's not that I'm disillusioned. I'm forever hopeful. I wouldn't have gotten into politics to begin with if I weren't optimistic, and I think we'll get through this. But no doubt there's some strain on the system right now, and I'm certainly going to spend the next 7 months continuing to try to address that, and then going forward, I think we all have a stake in making sure that our Congress and our government work effectively on behalf of the American people.
So that is the plan, for you to stay until sometime in September, when Congress typically breaks, to let all the other members go home and run for re-election. That's basically your timetable. Is that correct?
Right, right. When Congress breaks for the election, and as you point out, everyone else goes home to campaign, that's when I'll transition over.
You've been open about talking about the passing of your nephew Eli to a drug overdose. I am curious. That happened almost a year ago, as you noted this week. Did that? How? I guess more importantly, how did that factor into? In which ways did it factor into your thinking about changing direction and taking a new opportunity when it presented itself?
It's a really good question. Look, there's been, obviously I mentioned January 6th. I mean, there's been a lot that there's been a lot that I've dealt with, that we've all had to deal with, particularly COVID, right? And the impact that that's had on our community. But in the case of Eli, one of the things I want to correct you, Jim, because I think it's really important, and this is one of the reasons I'm going to focus on this so much for my remaining 7 months. Eli didn't die of an overdose. Eli took something that was legal. He took a supplement that was laced with fentanyl. And right now, all over our community and all over America, there are young people who think that they're buying Adderall or Xanax on Instagram or TikTok. They think when their friends give them something, they think if they can just try cocaine one time, that to see what it's like, they'll be fine. And so often these days, they're laced with fentanyl, and it's so potent that accidental ingestion of fentanyl can kill, and it is, and it will continue to. Which is why we need to make sure everyone is aware of this enormous challenge that faces, again, every community in our country.
That's the mission. But my question was more on the personal, in terms of, his passing. You mentioned January 6th, COVID. Those factors, how did they play on wanting to open a new chapter to your life?
I hadn't really thought about it, but I mean, there are lots of other things that you can add to that. Look, what comes with this job is not just giving speeches on the House floor and speaking at events and rallies. It's the intensely personal relationships that we develop, and I mean, the relationships that I've developed with the families from Parkland. It's the impact of something, not just my family when my nephew passed, but the conversations I've had with people all over the community about their challenges and their loss. And I don't think that's not the reason I'm doing this, but certainly, of course, that's had an impact on me, and as it has on families all around our district, all around our community. This is an opportunity for me to really focus on this critically important issue, and I try to do as much as I can on so many different issues. But at a time of growing anti-Semitism and threats to the Jewish community, I think I'm going to be able to have make a really significant impact in this new position as well. But I'm not going to stop. I want to be clear. I'm leaving Congress, but I'm not going to stop caring about working on these issues, working with the people that I've gotten to know. I won't be their representative, but still, I'm going to be a concerned citizen who wants the best for our community, just like I think we all do. Certainly, we all should.
Let's turn to Ukraine for a second. Talk to me about where you see the situation in Ukraine today and what the United States should be doing that they are not already doing.
Let me start with what the United States is doing, and I think that's really important. This is an issue, Jim, where my God, Russia is violating the territorial integrity, the sovereignty of another country, violating international law. This should not be a political issue. And what we saw in Munich at the security conference is the United States standing firmly with our NATO allies, the EU, those countries around the world who understand that you just cannot sit back and allow what Putin is doing to take place. And so the sanctions that were put in place, multilateral sanctions, are really important. But beyond that, we've seen the follow-on. We've seen businesses just yesterday, the number of businesses who have announced that they're not going to have anything to do with Russia anymore. The impact that this is having on the Russian economy. We're not sending troops into Ukraine, and I think that's the right approach, and I think people, by and large, agree with that. But we can have the toughest possible sanctions. Two things could happen, Jim. One, this is going to have a really significant impact on the Russian people, and they're not going to blame the United States. They're not going to blame EU. They're going to blame Vladimir Putin. But as we know, he probably doesn't care. But here's what he does care about. When the oligarchs and the people that he's close to can no longer travel anywhere outside of Russia, when their money that they're hiding in countries around the world starts to be shut off from them, that's the kind of pressure that we really need to ramp up in order to bring some change here.
You said a second ago that you agreed with the decision not to engage U.S. troops in the fighting in Ukraine. Does that also extend to a no-fly zone? I know there have been a couple of members of Congress, others who have suggested that the U.S. and NATO should create a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Where do you stand on that?
The idea of sending American fighter jets, to put American fighter jets into action against Russian MiGs, it is essentially the same thing. So I think the approach ought to be to focus on getting the Ukrainians what they need. The fact that the Germans are now sending them weapons and supplies, the fact that the Europeans are really stepping up, we should be doing more on that front. They're in a really tough situation. It is still possible for us to continue to get them support that will help them in this, even as we put an economic stranglehold around Russia and around Putin.
When we come back, we will talk to one of the possible contenders to replace him, State Senator Gary Farmer, and we'll catch up with what's happening in Tallahassee. Stay with us.